What's up, everybody? Hello. It's the Flyer Live podcast. We're saying that a lot. We said it 25 times, Mitch. Flyer
25.
Live podcast, episode 25, a quarter of the way to 100. That's a lot of shows so far. Once a
It's
week
a lot of
we
shows.
go. Uh, for those that haven't been here before, by the way, I'm Josh or Jish, whichever you prefer. A lot of people go with Jish online, so if you know me from online, Jish is the answer. Mitch is here as well. We are here every week, so we've been here for 25 weeks straight. Usually on Thursdays. We did have a couple shows on Wednesdays, but usually on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central Normal Time. It's the only time zone that matters. And the Flyer Live podcast is a podcast about amateur golf. We don't really touch pro golf. We don't know anything about pros or how they play. We don't play like them. They're on a different planet, so we try and avoid them unless we can use them for ways to help us be better at golf, which we do sometimes. But otherwise, amateur golf show, amateur golf hosts, amateur hosts. We've screwed things up all the time, including last week. The title of the show said episode 23 when it was episode 24. So we have two episode 23s.
Good.
Anyways, if you're live with us, we are live. We're live on X and YouTube. Feel free to chat along. We have a chat window we can see. Mitch can actually see it now. This is 25 episodes it took before Mitch could actually see the chat, but he can see it now. I previously was the only one that could see it. So chat along, and both of us can see it, and we'll chat back. Follow our X account, subscribe to YouTube, do all that good stuff. We're just trying to build a community here of amateur golfers we can chat and or debate with, which we'll probably do today. Before or during the shows, and of course after. Yeah, chat along if you want. Otherwise, our replays are live on X and YouTube as well. So if you can't catch it live, definitely you can rewatch it at any time if you'd like. Did I cover everything, Mitch?
I think so.
All
I
right.
think we're ready to roll.
We got some spicy stuff for today. We were gonna do our normal thing where we just kind of talk about here's how you get better at golf. Here's some tips and tricks that a couple 3 handicaps have learned over the years who started as 15, 16, 17, 18 handicaps, got it down to 1, 2, 3s. We know a lot of things about getting better at golf because we've done it ourselves. So we were gonna do a little bit of that. And then Mitch, X happened the last 2, 3 days.
Man, X always happens. Freaking Twitter, man.
X
I'm
is
still calling it Twitter. It's X, but it's still Twitter in my heart.
okay. We are officially a Twitter. We call X Twitter on this podcast going forward.
Yes.
Twitter happened. There was tweets, a whole lot of tweets about the handicap system, and some other tweets about divots in the fairway, and some other tweets about just USGA rules in general. So, a lot of debates. You know what? I'm actually proud of Twitter, by the way. For the most part, out of all the debates I saw over the last 2, 3 days, hardly anybody just being a complete doucher without having like an actual like conversation about something. Like you pick
Right.
your side, but otherwise it's like, oh, if you think that, usually this is how it goes. Oh, if you think that, you're a moron. I didn't really see any of that.
See, maybe the thing is that you have blocked so many of the accounts that just try to fight that you don't even see them anymore. They're probably still
You
happening.
know
Just don't
what?
see
You're probably right. My block list is long and it continues to grow. Uh, anyway, so where would you like to start? I know you're fired up about a couple things. I
it.
just
Should
have
we?
ideas, really. I might not be as fired up as you. I have ideas for things and some thoughts. I think you're fired up about some
Well,
things though.
I'm fired up about a couple of things,
All right,
but
let's hear it.
okay. Let's just start with weird golf rules, and then we're gonna jump into handicap.
Okay.
So this is related, similar to the divots in the fairway, and whatever. We're not going to talk about that yet. But what I found out last night at league, well, after my league match, is that you can. Okay, so the testing sand in a bunker. So when you step into a bunker, you cannot touch the sand with your hand, you cannot touch the sand with your club. You cannot touch the sand with any other object. However, you can touch the sand prior to hitting your shot with a rake if it's for course care, as long as it doesn't improve your lie. So I need anybody who might be listening here who's a rules expert, explain to me how somebody could bring a rake into the bunker and just say, well, that spot's a little rough. I'm going to go rake it. And then they can just say, that's part of course care. I'm not testing the sand. Because you could do that apparently, and you could not be penalized for that. So how do you differentiate testing sand versus course care? That's my question, because it doesn't make
Well,
any sense to me.
uh, the correct answer is you don't,
Yeah,
which
so
is
you
the
just take
best
it on the
part.
fly.
It's my favorite part about golf, actually. It's a gentleman's game. Most of the original rules of golf were meant for people to just be honest about what the hell you're doing. And then, especially COVID time, but even before that, golf is flooded because, by the way, let's keep this in mind. Gambling is a huge piece of golf.
Mhm.
Like, if you compete at all or want to compete, you probably have dollars in your pocket ready to give to your friend or take off your friend or maybe somebody you don't know. But so so people are motivated by golf because of money. So people are more inclined to try and skirt the rules or try and interpret the rules in a way that they probably shouldn't be interpreted so that they can give themselves an advantage or a perceived advantage, I guess, so that they can have a better chance to take money off of their friends. That's the base issue behind all of this is people are just trying to find a way around things to win money, I think. But this rake thing doesn't make sense, and that's how we got into the divot debate as well, which we could eventually get into. But
Yeah. So again, and it might be um, money motivated, but I don't even think it really is. I don't know if people are necessarily would do this to test the sand. Not that, in my opinion, I don't think most amateurs can test the sand and really gain anything of value. There, you can tell pretty quick if it's wet sand, and your club might thump out a little bit more, and it's not going to dig in as much, versus fluffy sand, right? Like you're going to be able to tell just by stepping in it. But the rule itself does not make any sense. It's
no,
contradicting itself.
yes,
Like, why not just say you just can't rake the bunker until after you hit? Because that's not what it
yes,
says.
exactly. Uh, yeah. By the way, I just thought about this just now. There is another rule in the bunker very similar to that. Um, you can't you can't like dig your feet into the ground, into the sand, like to test the sand. So like if you're like digging your feet in to get set up for the shot, that's fine.
Yep.
But if you're digging your feet in and you're not getting ready for the shot, then that is illegal because you're testing the sand.
Mhm.
But how does anybody know if I start digging my feet in and get ready for the shot and then back off if I was just doing that to test the sand or if I was doing that to get ready for my shot and then I decided I was going to back? Very similar. Oh, actually, maybe even worse because you can like when you dig your feet into the sand, you can definitely tell. Like
Yeah.
that's
Like,
super helpful.
yeah. Like, more importantly for that is like you can tell how much sand is underneath you.
Yeah.
You know if the club is going to, if there's a quarter inch of sand and the club is going to bounce out and you're going to blade the ball, or if it's going to dig in and you need to open up the club face and use a little bit more bounce. So like that, yeah, that one doesn't really make sense either.
They're very similar rules in that the original premise of the rule is assuming a lot of golf rules assume that people are just going to do the right thing. And in this day and age of golf, people just don't. which is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
fair.
I would guess. I'm not gonna guess, but there's a lot of people that that do their best to use the rules or interpret the rules in a way that they're probably not supposed to be interpreted, but they're written the way they are, and if that's the way they're written, then that's the way you should play. I've seen is it Kip Henley, I believe, has tweeted this on a few different occasions where rules things come up, and he's like, "Well, that's just how the rule's written, so just do that." Even though the obvious intention of the rule was to not do whatever it was, which like the digging your feet in or like the rake thing is, the obvious intention is to not like figure out what to do with the sand, but people will just do it
Yep.
because the rule doesn't explicitly tell them they're not supposed to, because it was in theory wasn't supposed to be that way. So
Right. It's ambiguous on purpose, right? Like it's just
yeah.
kind of it's open for interpretation. And when you have rules that are open to interpretation, the players might disagree on them, and then they would have to call a rules official in, and that rules official might have a different opinion of that rule than another rules official.
Hmm.
So it just really depends on what rules official you get to come in and tell you what to do. And I don't know. The whole thing is kind of a clusterfuck, if you ask me.
Yeah. I also on the pros you see it a lot in a lot of rules instances.
Mhm.
They'll have a rules official come over, and the rules official will give their opinion because now the rules book now is basically opinion based. so
Yeah,
for
pretty
well, not
much.
all of it, but a solid chunk of it is you just have your interpretation of what the words say. So you have a rules official come over. Bryson loves this when he doesn't get the answer that he wants. A lot of people do, but Bryson is known. He has just videos of this, so you don't get the answer you want. Then you call over another official and see if they're going to give you the answer. And then if they don't give you the answer, you try your damn hardest to get a third to see if they will agree with your opinion on the rules. Whereas the rules could just be written to just here's the answer, and it's just not that way. There should just be an answer.
One
You
would think.
can't touch the sand. That's just the rule. There should be no, oh, you can go in with your rake, just make sure that you're not pretending you're not using the rake to figure out how the sand, just no. Don't put the rake in the sand if you don't want people to touch the sand.
Yeah, it seems pretty simple.
Yeah.
I know, just no exceptions. You can't touch the sand other than with your feet, like addressing the ball. Yeah. Anyway, that's my beef with that rule. It's dumb, but it did lead us down the conversation with the divots in the fairway,
It did.
and everyone is going to hate us, I think.
Yes.
But
We are I believe we are in the heavy minority on our idea here.
yeah, but on the other hand, to me, it kind of does make sense because if you hit a ball in the fairway, you should be rewarded for have hitting a good shot,
Yes.
right? So you hit a good shot. Why are you being penalized? And not all divots are the same. Some divots are just fine. You can hit out of them, no problem. But I've seen some divots that I've taken. I've seen some divots some other people are taking. There's some out there that if they don't get repaired, I mean, they're 2 inches deep. Like if your ball
Yeah.
goes in there, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
you hope people repair those divots, but they don't
yeah.
always do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So I think what our opinion was if the ball is in your fairway, the intended fairway for the hole, not an adjacent fairway, it's just lift clean in place. Lift clean in place. No more mud balls, no more divots in fairways. Lift clean in place. You hit a good shot, good for you. You get your one club length or whatever. You can even do a scorecard or something like that. Like just move it 6 inches. Boom, done.
Yeah, I
Very
agree. Or use a T. A length of a T is how far you can move or something.
yeah.
Yeah, yes, we are on the same page there. Right, I agree. Ball
But
in
it,
your
but it, yeah, in your fairway. If your
yes,
ball
in
goes
your
into the
intended
divot, you have
fairway.
an adjacent fairway. Screw you! You hit a terrible shot. You don't get rewarded.
Yes, 100%. In the intended fairway, just roll it. You know what? I don't even know if I'd agree with you can pick it up and clean it. I think you can just roll it a little bit.
Sure, fine. That's fine
Although
too.
although to be fair, people of course if you say just roll it, people will figure out a way to knock the mud off the ball. But whatever. Um also by the way, there is one other very important person that is on our side on this. I assume because he has said this out loud. It's the number one golfer in the world, Scotty Scheffler.
You should be rewarded for good
Scotty
shots.
Scheffler has said a handful of times in the last couple months he will like or dislike a course based on if the golf course will well maybe even it wasn't talking about golf course. I'm pretty sure he was just talking about overall golf, but he may have been talking about specific golf courses. Either way, he is fully on board that good golf shots should be rewarded because the fucking sport is so hard on its own that if you do what you're supposed to do, there should not be a penalty.
Mhm.
So there's us two and there's Scotty Scheffler. That feels like we're putting pretty good company. Yeah. So again, hit it. And here's the other piece of that. We already do things in the game of golf to give ourselves a reward for a good shot that we hit, or give ourselves uh, give put ourselves in a situation where what we're about to do wasn't impacted by somebody else. This is another part of it. On the green, for example, you fix pitch marks.
Mhm.
You can fix other things on the green. So if you hit a close shot and there's a ball mark in front of you, why don't we have to leave that? It's bad luck, you know? That's the big argument about the divot thing is one, how do you know what a divot is and what it isn't, which doesn't matter at all. And two is the golf is a game of luck, so you just have to roll with the punches if you have an unlucky situation. So then my question is, if you hit it to 3 feet and somebody has a ball mark right in front of your ball, why do you get to fix that? That's just unlucky.
Why is there even a ball mark at all? Why don't we just leave the ball there and leave the stymies? Let's go back to
Well,
stymies.
that too. I'm talking about like
Oh, you're just talking about
the
like a pitch mark.
yeah, like a pitch mark. Yeah,
Okay.
if there's a pitch mark in front of your ball, that's just bad luck. You know, you should
Yeah,
have to
but you get
putt
to
through
fix it.
that. You know,
Yeah, but you get to fix it.
you also, some people don't do this, but in theory, after you hit a ball out of a bunker, you rake the bunker so you leave it the way that it came. So if
Mhm.
somebody else goes in there, their shot is not impacted by something else that just happened in front of you. Makes a ton of fucking sense. You're not playing with them. And in a tournament, you're playing against them, but also if you're last in a group, it's a large disadvantage to have the course be torn up in front of you. So everybody else had a better opportunity at the exact same shot than you did because they were there before you, and that's all timing. So again, also makes no sense. So you hit it in the fairway. You should just move it a little. And by the way, pros do this like every other week. If it rains, like if it rained last month, they're gonna play lift clean place for the next month. Pros do it. They like just it doesn't. It really, in the grand scheme of things, even if you just look down at your ball and you're like, maybe it's a divot, like a pitch mark or a divot. Maybe it's not. Who cares? Like, just pick it up and drop it an inch away. It's not going to change anything in the game.
Yep.
And it's just going to make the entire experience more enjoyable, which is the point of this stupid fucking game that we play. Let's not make a hard game harder by penalizing people that do good things.
Exactly. And if you do lift clean in place, just always, if you're in your fairway, then the question of what is a divot is answered. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It does not matter
Yeah.
because you're picking it up and moving it anyway.
Mhm. And again, I have hit out of plenty of divots this year. For the most part, they're not that difficult. But I have hit out of some where the ball comes out real wonky and knuckly, and I mean, I still hit it on the green because I was like 90 yards away. But if I was hitting out of that same divot with a 7-iron, I might miss the green because of that.
All right, 100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Again,
it's all a matter of what somebody did or didn't do to repair that spot in front of you. Somebody in the group directly in front of you could have taken out a 3-inch divot out of the ground, and you hit it right into there. If you were in the group in front of them, you would have had a perfect shot.
mhm.
So it's all timing. It just makes no sense.
So something that just popped in my head now that kind of relates to this is in the pro level, if they go into a bunker, they're required to rake the bunker after they hit to make it basically pristine again and like
Mm-hmm.
nobody was ever there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, the player can be fined because their caddy didn't rake the bunker properly.
Yep.
So you're telling me that a bunker has to be pristine, a hazard of a bunker must be pristine. But if you hit the ball in the fairway and it goes into a divot, you are required to hit out of that divot.
Right. Without penalty, of course.
Yes.
Of
So
course.
I don't know. I mean, we could probably sit here and debate this, but we're on the same page. So there's nobody here
Yeah.
to
We're just debating to the clouds at the moment.
yeah. If somebody wanted to chat with us, they are certainly welcome to. But I don't know. I feel like it's a very easy fix, and the debate would end, and we would never have to talk about it ever again. People, there's some hardos that would be upset about it, be like, just hit out of the divot. Like, okay, but you get to benefit from this too. Like
Right.
everyone benefits.
I saw somebody. We'll move on in a second, but I saw somebody tweet months and months ago, not in the most recent uh, golf rules debate, but a few months ago, somebody tweeted that it's one, golf has always been this way, so that's why they wanted to stay the same. That they wouldn't want to change the rule because golf is a sport of history and blah 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 blah. So okay, whatever. But also then following that, and maybe even in the same tweet, they said some of their most memorable shots came from hitting balls out of divots that ended up with great results. Their most memorable shots were out of divots from the fairway.
Sure, sure. I don't really have a response to that.
I actually,
Anyway,
as I was talking, I remembered who tweeted it, and I'm gonna refrain from saying who it was.
that seems
I'll
fair.
tell I'll tell you later,
Yeah,
and then you won't be surprised when I tell you who it was.
probably not. But I think we have exhausted this line of conversation.
Yes, we don't
So
have anybody to argue with.
yeah, should we move on to talking about handicaps and the Gin app?
Yes, that the handicap system in general been making some waves on Twitter for like 2 weeks now. Mostly thanks to Yip, is it Yip Strickler? Is that
Yep,
the
Strickler.
account?
Yep, he's after those or not the
The
Vandals.
sandbaggers. He's after the sandbaggers. To be fair, if there's anybody on Twitter that knows and understands the handicap system the best, it appears it might be him. He knows a lot of intricacies about all the stuff you are and are not supposed to do, like fucking hidden little rules that literally nobody knows about until he tweets them.
He spent like the last like what 3 or 4 years just posting content about
Yeah.
sand. It's like
Yeah,
I mean,
eventually you just
all
learn
he
it
has
all.
done is
Yeah.
looking up the gin rules. Like
Yeah. Eventually you just learn it all, of course. Which, by the way, is my main one of, well, I shouldn't say my main gripe, but one of my bigger gripes with the handicap system is that it's so goddamn confusing and nobody knows how it actually works. One, nobody can calculate it unless you have you go on Google and type in handicap calculator and then you put the numbers in and it kind of tells you how the calculation works. Nobody knows it. Like if I gave you 20 scores or even 10. If I gave you 10 scores, you sitting here right now without a calculator in your hand could not tell me what the handicap is of those 10 scores. Nobody can. Nobody knows how to calculate it. Nobody knows. We'll get to this. Nobody knows what you are or are not supposed to count as a score. Uh, no, nobody knows when you're supposed to post a score or why it matters when you post your score. Uh, nobody like what I'm getting at is nobody fucking knows about anything. So how do you have a system that's meant to be in place to help people compete against each other when nobody knows or can trust that the system, nobody knows how it works or can trust that it works correctly? That is a sign of a really bad and broken system that needs to be redone like ASAP.
I would agree. So maybe let's start about like when you should post and what types of rounds you should post. So
Yeah,
what
you
type
got into that a little bit.
well, yeah, because people don't know what they're talking about. So what types of rounds to post? Should you post a match play round? Should you post a best ball round, or whatever else kind of round you're doing? The answer is yes. You should post those rounds. And to give a little look into what my handicap would be if none of my match play scores counted, none of them. My handicap would be about a 3.5 is roughly what I calculated, versus my 1.3 right now. So I would have to give two less shots per round to everyone, right?
You'd be sandbagging.
I I would be called a sandbagger because if I went and then I played the couple of matches that I did play just a couple week ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, as a 3.5, and then I went off and shot 73, 73 in back to back rounds, they're like, there's no fucking way this guy's a 3.5, 4 handicap. Like, this guy is clearly sandbagging us.
Yep.
And the answer would have been like, sorry, man, I can't post my match play rounds. Like, no, that's not how that works.
Uh,
So, and,
so we are definitely going to disagree here. And I, by the way, I don't play hardly any match play yet because I'm not a member of a club, which is a lot of you play a lot of match play when you're in a club. Next year, I may feel differently about this. However, um, the reason that that feels bad to me is the obvious point of people picking balls up, not finishing holes, etc. And you have made the argument that if you're picking your ball up, you're probably at net double or whatever anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Fair, or if you pick it up, that's just what you record. Also fair. However, then that is also going to skew your handicap or your score because it's not for sure what you were going to score. And in theory, if you want the handicap system, if you want a system to be accurate in describing your level of skill, putting in arbitrary numbers, even if it's just one or two holes, that automatically is just going to skew things, even though the system skews things on its own anyway. But and there is the thing where it's like, okay, you have a 5 foot putt, or not even five. We're not going to go 5 foot putt. You got a 3 foot putt. Person gives it to you. Whatever. They're in for three. That puts you in for five. You are now making the assumption that you were for sure going to make that 3 foot putt. When in reality, if the other person had been in for four, and you had to make it for four, and it's the 18th hole, your hands are a little shaky, might turn the club face a little bit, and you might miss the 3 footer. Or somebody's in for three, you're sitting 40 feet away for five. They give you the putt, or you pick it up or whatever. You're supposed to, based on what you posted. I believe is what you're supposed to do is make an assumption that I would have putted X amount of times, or if you're not even on the green, I would have hit X shot and then followed it up with X shot and X shot and X shot, and then that's my score. I think that's what you're supposed to do. So if you're 40 feet away and it's given to you, in my mind, I'm like, I'd have two putted that probably, but we don't know that. There's no way to know just because the game is so hard. What you think should happen and what likely will happen is not a guarantee that it would have happened. So and again, we can look at this the exact opposite way too. I'm saying I'm 40 feet away. I'm making the assumption I would two putt. However, there's nothing saying that I wouldn't have three putted. There's also nothing saying that I wouldn't have made the putt and one
Mhm.
putted. So that's a stretch of two strokes. That can make a big difference in your score if you do that twice in a round. Now you're talking about a difference of four strokes, and if you're really picking up your ball a lot, you know. So that's why I understand that, and in your case, for sure, like you post good rounds in best ball, you play a lot of match play and stuff. So a lot of your rounds in that case wouldn't count, and that also seems fair because that is also not it's not giving the system the ability to properly rate you, but also putting in scores that are guesses also I'm not sure gives that answer. So basically what I'm arguing is there's no way to get the correct answer.
Right. So I understand your point. I do. Um, I would uh, counter back to you and state that I think you're talking a little just arbitrarily. Just it doesn't. What you're saying doesn't really happen in real life. You're making a case that just doesn't happen. Every single match that I have ever played, people one never give three footers. I have never seen anybody give somebody a three footer
You had to
ever.
put one foot. You had to put one footers the other
I had to put
day.
three one footers last night, which is fine. I made all three, whatever. They're a tap in, you should make them. But I have never given nor have been gave a 3 foot putt unless it was because I was putting for like a double and it doesn't matter. I lost. Then they're like, just pick it up and move on. But again, that's where we're getting into that net double because the Gin app will only let you post for a net double. So it doesn't matter if you got a nine. If it was a par five and you are stroking on the hole, it's going to pull that back down to an eight,
hmm
right? So if you have a nine, like pick, it doesn't matter, right? And I think that's important to remember when you're talking about match play because what I'm saying, yeah, you're picking up a 40 footer. It's because you're going to reach your net double, right? Like you
A
might
lot of the time, yeah,
maybe you make that putt, but it's probably for a double, right?
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe not.
Also,
But
the maybe part is what bothers
however,
me.
just wait. A hole yesterday, my partner, he shanked two balls into the water, and I'm just like, dude, it's fine. You don't need to hit another one. Just you're an X on this hole. Like you're out of the hole. And when he's out of the hole, I mean, he was going to be hitting five from the tee, and he was getting one stroke on the hole. I'm sorry, he's making a net double. He's not getting a hole in one there. Like it's a net
But
double.
you don't know that.
Even if he did, it's a double bogey. It's fine. Like
Well,
the
then it's a bogey, you know?
the probability is so exceedingly low
It
that
is.
over the grand scheme of your 20 rounds, it's not going to skew your handicap by more than like what a zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.4 shots one way
Probably
or
not.
the other. Like it's not going to skew things to a large enough extent to make a difference.
Probably not. Right. Yeah, again,
So
I
it
agree
won't.
for the
It
most
won't.
part, if you're not finishing the hole, it's insanely likely that you're somewhere near the net double bogey. However, I will counter again that there are probably a handful of situations in match play where you, as a good golfer, make birdies uh, relatively frequently compared to other golfers. So if you're in for birdie and I'm kind of lagging behind and I'm on the green and I have a bogey putt, now I'm not talking about net double. I'm talking about a bogey, and to get to net double, if I'm getting strokes, that's 3 shots before I hit net double.
Mhm.
So that's the situation that concerns me is if you're in for birdie and then the given putt is not the one where you're just playing like shit. It's the result is that you actually just played really good, and that's the reason I picked up, not necessarily that I played really bad. Those
Mhm.
are the ones I'm concerned about. Obviously, like if you're gonna win the hole with a par or a bogey, and the other person's picking up, yeah, it's damn near certain that that person is double net double whatever. But my concern is when the result of that is because you played good and not because I played bad.
Mhm. Yep. No, I understand, but in reality, with the
You
way
don't
that
make
it's
too many birdies in reality.
but yeah, that's true. I don't like maybe 1 to 3 per round. Every now and then I catch it here and I get up to like maybe five, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's an abnormal day. But in reality, the way that almost every single person I have ever played with does is they want to putt out anyway because they're golfing. They putt out regardless.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody ever pick up when they're putting for a par or bogey just because they lost the hole. They always putt it out anyway. So again, I understand your concern, but the way that it works in real life is not the way that you're stating it. At least in
For the
my
most for the
observation.
most part, yeah.
But again, even if it did, you're talking about one, maybe 2 strokes maximum per round. And if somebody's, let's say, a 10 handicap, so instead of shooting at what they would have had would be an 85, they shot an 84. I mean, how much is that changing their handicap one way or the other? If anything, it's bringing their handicap down a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
which, in my opinion, as a low handicap golfer, I'm all for bringing those high handicappers down a little
A hundred,
bit.
a 100%. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. So I guess my main point is like, I think you're overblowing your concern a little bit because
I
what I have
Yeah,
seen play out in real life is not the scenarios that you are talking about.
yeah. So here's how I respond to that too. When I'm saying things like that, I'm thinking of a system that I wish existed that was able to accurately convey how good of a golfer somebody actually is. Like you said, in reality, a lot of the things people do on the golf course, whether it's following the fucking rules, just the golf rules, or anything, all of that stuff just kind of skews a shot here, a shot there. Whether you post a score on time or not could skew a shot here, could skew a shot there. So yeah, there's a lot of, there's a lot of things that happen in golf where your score just probably isn't what it exactly should be, and therefore the handicap system is never going to be able to accurately reflect perfectly. It doesn't even need to be perfect, like very, very accurately what your skill level is as a golfer. Um, so what I'm saying you shouldn't post them because of those potential abnormalities. I'm thinking of a system that would be very, very close to predicting how good of a golfer you actually are. A perfect system, by the way, would be able to use your match play rounds and be able to somehow filter out the holes where you picked up, and then that's just like you played, but you didn't really. So that has no indication on like how good of a golfer you are or not. So in theory, a system could take that into account versus just something that says, "Hey, take a guess." You know. So when I'm saying it shouldn't, I'm thinking of a system that actually works. But yes, in reality, yeah, like you said, the things that I'm talking about don't happen too often. It's not going to do too much to the scores of the handicap. Therefore, it doesn't matter. Also, same lines which I've been saying, which basically contradicts what I just said. The posting your scores, the posting your scores on time thing. I had a long tweet to our friend Jake. We talk about Jake every week. We should have him on sometime.
I
Um,
actually invited him on. He wants to come on. We actually have to invite him. Jake, if you're listening to this, we will schedule it. We know. Anyway, continue.
um, yes. So yes. Where was it? I got distracted by something. Oh, yeah, the posting on time thing. That is, I've commented a long one to Jake, and then I commented on a bunch of other people as well. That is strictly a timing thing to make sure that your score is properly adjusted for the conditions of the course that day.
Huh?
However, go
Continue.
go go that
No,
unless you got something else that the timing is for.
the timing is crucial if you have an upcoming event.
Yes, well, of course, of course.
Yeah. So if you have an event in 3 days and they pull the handicaps the day before, but you purposely do not post your scores until the day before or the day of the event, you are gaming the system specifically, especially if they were good scores. Like
That's
you're
yeah,
gaming
that's
the
a
system to be
much different scenario.
so
Yes.
timing does matter.
Yeah, that the situation I'm mentioning is just like me as somebody that plays golf and then like comes home and has to deal with kids and has to like cook dinner for the wife or whatever. Busy life. I keep score on 18 birdies, which also tracks my handicap. So I have no other than if I'm going to play in an event that requires the handicap, I really have no incentive to go in that day to Gin and type in all the scores when I already have my score, and two, I already have a system that calculates my handicap. I don't necessarily need that. And there's a tons and tons and tons of people out there like that. The dude that Yip Strickler was mad about, who the guy ended up cease and desisting him. That was basically his explanation. He's like, I just use 18 birdies and I needed the handicap for this event, so I put my scores in later so that they could have the right handicap. That is fine. The thing you're mentioning, purposefully waiting to make sure that your handicap is a number until
They forgot.
after somebody pulls it. That's a completely different situation. That's just being a douchebag. This
They
particular situation, um, posting it the day of, the only reason you're supposed to post it on the day of is the stupid PCC adjustment, which adjusts the score for conditions of the day. The reason that I don't think it matters, which is very similar to what we just talked about, is that the adjustment doesn't work because there one the how they do the math on it doesn't make sense, and two, there's just not enough golfers that have handicaps to make that work. So what I said to Jake is 12% 12% of golfers have handicaps, something like that. So on any given day on any given golf course, if you assume 12% of golfers have a handicap, this by the way is different for private clubs versus public clubs. Your
we have
club, your
caps.
club, for example, if you're going to play events, you have to have a handicap. They might even offer it when you sign up. Like you might just get it with your entry fee in some places. So
We have to have a gin.
yeah, so different in private versus public, obviously. However, just using the 12% as an example.
Yeah.
Uh, in overall golf, that means on any given day, on any given golf course, 1 out of 8 people, so one person in a set of two tee times has a handicap. So throughout that entire day, 1/8 of the scores go towards it, assuming that those are even posted on time. But let's just say they are. If everybody that has a handicap posted on the same day, it's still only 1/8 of the scores on the day that determine whether or not the golf course played good or played bad. And the problem there is another thing that I tweeted about is golfers' scores can range 20 strokes. Amateur golfer, 20 strokes or more. And that's just on same day, same conditions, same everything. Like I can go play my home course today and I can shoot at 85 and I can go back tomorrow. It's the same temperature, the wind is the same direction, everything's the same, and I can shoot 75. So there's a wide range of scores, and that score differential doesn't the course is the exact same. I just played differently. However, that would tell Jin, oh, one day was harder than the other, when in fact I just played differently. If you have a large sample size, so if it's 50% of golfers, then that sample size starts to become reflective of how the golf course may be playing. 1 out of 8 is not anywhere near enough golfers throughout the day to have a large enough sample to tell you if the golfers just kind of played good that day or played bad, or if the course was actually playing harder or easier. So when I was saying the PC posting on time doesn't matter because it's all about the PCC, I think that's true because I think the number that they put up there is just arbitrary based on some random scores for the most part. There's no way to really know. But the case that you mentioned that people would specifically wait, which they do, specifically wait to post scores because they want their number to be something so people can see it. Big problem. Posting on time for the PCC, not a problem. And by the way, on time is the same day. And that's everyone's thing. Just post it the same day. You don't have to post it the same day. Just make sure you got the scores in there before your handicap is needed for something.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm glad we got that done. But there's one more thing of a comment I saw
Okay.
uh, about why you shouldn't post scores in either match play or a best ball.
Okay. We're back to this. I like it.
Sorry, this is more. I think this one was more best ball related. It's because of hero shots.
I
Because you're
saw that.
doing hero shots,
I saw that.
and
I saw
that's
that.
why you shouldn't post your best ball scores. What? But please explain that one to me. Explain how you attempting to do dumb stuff on the golf course precludes you from having to post that score to your handicap.
Yeah. I can.
We're
By
not
the way,
talking
I
about
can. See, I can
example. This is a
see.
best.
I can see why somebody may say that. Sort of. The
No, no.
the
You're
theory. I know what the
never.
theory. It's the theory's bad, but I know what the theory is. The theory is that in a best ball scenario, um, your strategy on the golf course probably changes based differently from what you would do just on a regular normal day of golf. And again, we want a system that tells us what our golf skill is on a regular day of golf, basically. So in best ball, yeah, you maybe, like, maybe you're taking like an extra risk or two. Maybe you're trying to shoot it through an opening in the trees that you might not otherwise. I mean, that's like 1 out of how many rounds? A lot.
It's
Your
man.
strategy just
We're stretching this.
here's what I'll say. If your strategy in best ball changes that much compared to how you normally play, we need to have a lesson in course management.
That's true. Because again,
Because if
maybe
you're just like if all of a sudden you're just playing like Mitch, you and I go out and play golf, and we're just like, hey, I'm gonna try and hit it down the fairway, and darn if I don't, darn if I do, and oh, I'm gonna go to the green, and I have my cone obviously, and I'm playing to my cone, and then all of a sudden we get to best ball, and we go out there, and I'm like, ooh, I'm firing at every flag now. If I'm in the woods, I'm going in there. And my ball's in the water. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going in there. I'm gonna try and hit the ball out of the water. Like, like if I'm doing that, one, I got no fucking chance in hell to win at best ball.
yep.
And and two, you you probably play better when you're not in best ball because you play how you actually should play golf, which is to your strengths and your abilities versus I'm just I'm just trying to make every shot. And that, by the way, if you try and make every shot when you play golf, you will shoot 100 every round you play.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, you will.
So I'm guessing the guy. Wait, that guy that wait, didn't that guy that comment say that he doesn't even play best ball in match
Oh
play,
yeah,
or is that a
sorry,
different person?
the other thing. He no, I think that might have been another one, but he did make a comment about hero shots, and I had told him, okay, so this is what he said. I said, yeah, I mean, the big thing is hero shots. If the other dude is on the fringe and I'm in some shit, I'm gonna try and gun the hole, and then yeah, I'd concede. One, one, we have to talk about some grammar and typing, but uh, I know it's fucking Twitter and it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah,
anyway,
no, no.
I said you can certainly do that, but then you should post the score as an X in the match, which should be posted as a net double bogey.
Yes.
Because if you're conceding and you're just picking up, it's a net double bogey, right? You're not finishing the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, which at that point is so convoluted, I'm just not gonna post a score in the first place. Oh, and I don't post scores anyways because I've never played tourneys or anything. I'm just a weekend warrior with an opinion. Okay, then your opinion doesn't matter. Like you have zero skin in the game in this conversation. Like why do you even why do you even have an opinion?
Yeah.
No skin in the game.
That is my favorite situation we run into on Twitter occasionally is people just pop in and they're just angry about things. And then it turns out that
True.
they just like are not invested at all in any like so it's literally the equivalent of like me and you posting something about amateur golf and like a rugby player coming in that doesn't play golf and just has an opinion on
Mhm.
golf and it's like, well, you don't play golf. Like
Yeah, so,
you
yeah,
don't play or know anything about it. Like where is this like you're just coming in here to argue. That's what you're doing.
mhm.
So
Yeah. That's essentially what's happening. Like this, your weekend warrior. I'm sorry if this dude is listening here. Sorry, man. Your opinion does not matter to me whatsoever. And that's the thing, right? Is when we're talking about handicaps and we're talking about posting match plays and keeping it fair, the people who really care about this are the ones who are actively playing these net events, whether it's at a club, whether
mm-hmm.
it's with your friends for playing with, you're playing for $1, you're playing for $100. Like people with actual skin in the game, they want to make sure that it's creating a system that's fair,
Mm-hmm.
that everyone has an opportunity to compete in a fair way. That way it's not all gross where if you have a +5 at your handicap they're going to win everything.
Yeah.
um
I
but
love that I love that golf has, and there will be people that disagree with this for sure because I've seen this. But I love that golf is maybe the only sport, maybe not, maybe there's other sports, but for sure one of the biggest sports where anybody, if they really wanted to, as long, as long as they're following the systems and the rules as they are, anybody can compete against anybody else if they want to because there's a system in place to make that possible, sort of. So that's the best part about golf is like I as a 3 handicap now or whatever, um, I can if I really wanted to play my friend for $20 and have it be fair the whole time, there's a system in place where I can play my friend who's a 20 handicap and the system can have things adjusted so that we can go out together and play and it can be fair based on the system that's in place so we can actually compete for whatever. I think it's probably the only sport in the world where you can do that. You can't like I can't go play basketball against my friend who's never played basketball before because that will never be competitive unless I play with my feet. Unless I shoot the ball with my feet. So, like
yeah.
football, for example, like if you're just a great athlete, you're going to be better than somebody else who's not a great athlete. Any sport, hockey, whatever, baseball, there's just no way to have somebody that is less skilled be able to compete with somebody that is more skilled and have it be fair. So I do like that about
So
golf because it makes golf you can make golf competitive and more fun with whoever you want it to be with. So I like that. The only problem is the the system just doesn't really work.
yeah, so the one thing with competition that I do think maybe we can close with this, or if you have a rebuttal to this, we can close with that. Uh, when competing, if the discrepancy, like if you're playing something in a match, if the discrepancy is, let's say, if it's more than 15 shots, everyone, their handicaps are reduced by 80%. So, like me as a 1-3, if I am playing a 20 handicap, their handicap and my handicap will be reduced by 80%. Well, sorry, I guess technically 20%, 80% of the handicap. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what? That would put them down to a 16, if I did my math right on the fly.
The USGA, by the way, does recommend 85%,
Yeah.
and I'll
So,
get to why that annoys me in a second. But go ahead.
but some matches I've played, we play at 100%, and then that's where it gets a little wonky
Mm-hmm.
because the ability for a high handicap to shoot 3 or 4 under their handicap is much greater than my ability to shoot 3 or 4 under my handicap, like exponentially better. So if you reduce it by that 20%, they come down to 16. I go down to a 1. Now instead of me giving them 19 shots, I'm giving them 15 shots. So they're still getting a shot on almost every single hole.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit reduced, and they don't get double bumps
Mm-hmm.
because double bumps are a pain. My partner last night, he had a 3 net 1. Good luck
Oh,
winning.
nice.
Good luck winning that hole.
Yeah, you ain't winning it. Yeah. Yeah, what you just said about the 80% thing is it's the number one red flag to me of a system that just obviously doesn't work. The literal group that publishes this system, the handicap system, the group that publishes it recommends that you adjust their own system that they created to make it more fair. So they have a system that says, here's a 3 and here's a 15. Also, take our system that we created that's supposed to make your skill levels equal. And by the way, put a percentage on that because it's actually not fair.
Well,
So they're
well,
admitting to everybody that the system just isn't good.
no, 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 no. I think what they're admitting, I don't know why I'm going to defend the USGA here, but I am.
I don't know why you are either.
I think what they're admitting is that because of their own studies that they found, in that the higher handicaps ability to shoot below their handicap on a more frequent scale than a lower handicaps, thereby if you reduce the handicaps by X%, you're negating that major discrepancy there.
No,
So
yeah, for
it
sure.
does
Yeah.
in fact make it more fair.
Right, but
I understand your point,
that's what
but
I'm saying is that they have the system that they created and they put out, and then yeah, obviously they did the research that said, oh shit, our system says a thing, but actually to make it more fair, we have to adjust our system to make it more fair, which to me says the system just doesn't work. Like so yeah, all in all of that to say, I think the handicap system just needs it just needs to be torn down and redone. There's some pieces of it that are good and they make sense. However, there's just so many things involved with it, including the part that we launched this with that just nobody really even understands it. And you can't calculate it without a calculator. Um,
we haven't
I
even touched horse handicaps yet,
No, no, yeah,
or
and
or
that's it
average or
again, and
average
that's another thing where
horse.
they have a number, but then you also have to adjust the number again. And by the way, there's so many events out there. The Barstool Classic, for example, all these other different events will take a handicap and then they will do some. There, my phone, it's gone forever. They'll do some kerfuffling with the number to make it a different number. So all of that just tells me that there's the system in place that is whatever, somebody created it. The USGA says I'm the man, you have to follow what I say, otherwise you can't play in tournaments. But it just everybody basically is just admitting that it doesn't work because everybody just changes the number anyway. So
Mm.
I think to close, personally, I think there needs to be an effort to just tear it down, start over from the beginning, and say, how do we actually take people's scores, whether it's per hole or per 9 holes or per 3 holes or something? How do we take somebody's ability to hit a golf ball into the golf hole and put a number to it that actually is fair and somehow can weed out people that manipulate the system, which this system is really easy to do? How do we create a system where we can actually make it fair, where people don't need to do 85% and they need to take it off the low net guy, and if you're playing a scramble then it's 25% of this guy's and 50%, all these things that other people. How do we create a system where you just don't have to adjust anything? All you do is play, and you put your numbers here and you have a good number that works that you never have to touch. And I think to get that, you have to tear it down and start over and think for literally from the ground up and say, how do we get there? Because right now you can't. And I don't think you can just start at the top and say, and just start cutting things off and say, well, PCC doesn't work. Let's just cut up. PCC is like a good idea. It just like adjusting for weather. Like you should do that. But the way they do it doesn't work. So, anyways, my thought there is tear it down. Somebody that's fucking smart, Mitch, figure something else out that's better because this one doesn't work.
You know, I like that. There's a lot of math nerds getting into golf.
There
I'm talking
are.
about math nerds. I'm talking about people that majored in graduate school,
Yeah.
PhD in math. They should come up with some sort of formula that does this. And we are not the guys because we run an amateur podcast
Yes.
on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. from some random room in our house. All right.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
not the guys for this.
No, no, no.
But
I went to school to learn how to use a calculator and an Excel spreadsheet. I know nothing about the intricacies of making a handicap system. I just know that it's bad.
it's not great, but it's the one we got.
It's the
And
one we got. That is the other piece.
I think we can use it better than what we have been.
Yes.
Post all your freaking scores.
You know what? I think we do our best to use it as we is and then as it is, and then somebody else just on the side just kind of makes one that kind of goes along with it, and then people gradually like, oh yeah, that's good, that's good, that's good, and then cut off the head of the gin.
Yep.
All right.
Anyway,
Are we
I think
done?
people are officially annoyed with us talking about the handicap system.
I'm kind of annoyed with us.
Yeah, I need to walk away from this conversation. It's going to get heated. But anyway, I appreciate everyone's hung out with us tonight. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Share with your friends if they might be interested. We're just trying to grow this community of amateur golfers. We're here every Thursday night, unless random life stuff happens, then we'll change. At 8 p.m. Central Normal Time, because it's what, Josh?
It is, Mitch,
The only time
the
zone that
only
matters.
time zone that matters. And
Yep.
that is not an opinion. We said a lot of opinions today. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. We will see you at that time.